goes, you know?
Yeah, one of those fucking Pacific Northwesterners.
Swing and a miss.
Fuck. Pacific. I don't know.
It's the thought that counts, though.
Yeah, I mean, you saw what I was doing. I don't know if it worked when it came out, but like conceptually,
and I agree with the spirit of it, you know?
Yeah. Oh my god, it's like Portlandia. You remember that?
Oh yeah, classic.
And the spirit of the '90s is alive in Portland.
Oh yeah,
that kind of thing.
Dude, spirit of something is alive in Portland.
Spirit of sickness, bro. Fuck, sick spirit in Portland is what it is.
Yeah, they got all these signs around here. I don't know if I've talked to you about this. They got all these signs around here for the longest time. They used to, more so. That was like, keep Seattle weird, right? And it was like, like anti-gentrification shit, right? Anti-PMC shit. And I mean, not that people thought of it as being anti-PMC, but
no, it was actually like, let's co-opt that and like make it like weird.
Well,
I wear thick brimmed glasses and drink green
Well,
juice.
exactly, because for all of these fucking like bumper stickers, you need like some fucking slugs in a fucking office, like sending, dude. On my way back from the Southwest, like last weekend, I was like, or I think it was on my way there. I mean, it doesn't on a fucking plane. I saw this lady that was like, it's like 300-pound lady, like wearing a mask with like, which at that point, I guess I get it, right? And she's doing like a remote desktop on her laptop, sure. And I kind of got this morbid fixation of just like, okay, this lady, just like this lady is just one of those workers that basically just ruined our lives by making COVID, you know what I mean? Making COVID what it was. She's just doing like do nothing fucking working on a fucking PowerPoint bullshit.
Right. While also having like 6 comorbidities that we're going to have to get vaccinated to protect her ass.
Exactly. And to be fair, it's not even my main criticism of it, right? My main criticism is just like,
the industry that she's a part of.
Yeah, exactly, right? And what the fuck was that? It was just, dude, it was just wild. It was just funny. I was just kind of like watching it from afar and just like, oh man, like it was like a 3-hour flight, and I'm just for a lot of it just like kind of not the whole time uninterrupted like a fucking serial killer, but I'm just kind of watching this lady just like what does this work look like? Right. And it was pretty much exactly what I thought. It was kind of funny.
If you're ever thinking about like a useless office worker in your head, that's about 90% of those people. Just kind of sitting there. They have some beverage, probably they're nursing. It's probably some sort of coffee or latte or juice,
like a sody pop. Well, no, no. No. So like the coastal like metropolitan population, their like equivalent of sody pop is like kombucha.
Oh yeah, dude, definitely.
Yeah, which to be fair, I think kombucha can be tasty, right? But like, dude, that's just sugar water, dude. Like, yeah. It's just especially if you're getting like the shit they sell that shit in like 7-Eleven now.
Yeah, I'll get some like raw kombucha with some probiotics and shit in it. Try to get my gut right, but I'm not going after kombucha usually at all. Like
these days I'm doing kefir for my gut.
Dude, yeah, kefir's gas. I like kefir a lot.
I'll just slug like a little shot of it too. Just like a little bit, maybe a couple times a day. It's all you need, really.
Oh, yeah, like a little Danimal size portion, dude.
Exactly. Dude. It's like Danimals, but based.
Yeah, based Danimals, red pilled Danimals, kefir.
Dude, this is kind of funny. Like follow up to like the last time we talked. Man, I really tried to make the Ukraine damn thing happen. And I don't mean in that way. I don't mean like I was responsible for it.
4D
I'm saying
chest
like
back here pulling strings, dude.
I felt an obligation for us to talk about it, right? And my whole discussion last week of just like the news is fucking stupid. There's nothing to even talk about. It's all gay, and not just for Pride Month.
Oh, Lord,
like, dude. You probably saw in my like show notes. I like had a note like, oh, I've gotta research it ahead of time.
Yeah, do
and
research
I tried
first.
to, and I tried to, and maybe I'm just like a horrible.
Oh, you took it off the topic list now. I see that.
I literally took it off the topic list because like I can't. I don't know what it is. I just cannot give a shit about it,
dude.
And like, I don't know, man. I think that if I can't be the only one, I can't be the only. I literally want feedback from our audience of like if that's just me being a horrible person or something, but like I just can't care like even slightly. So it's off the fucking topics.
Well, I saw that it was on the topic list, and so I was like doing a quick. I saw it said do research first, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna break the mold a little bit here.
Did you do the research?
Yeah, I tried to research.
Did you do your own research?
Yeah, but here's the thing: it's impossible to do fucking research on something like this in our modern world because, it's like it's just a fucking, like we said, it's a hall of mirrors. But anyways, yeah, I tried to poke through what I could here and there, and I determined a couple of things that kind of enlightened me that I didn't glean from our last conversation. Now, disclaimer, obviously, that, like, I don't know what I'm talking about, and especially not about foreign conflicts at a major level. Really, I can just kind of give you broad strokes.
Joe Rogan. I'm not a doctor.
Right. I'm not a doctor, but I am pretty healthy and fit. So, but anyways, I saw a couple of things. And number one is that, and I don't know if you mentioned this last time, but the dam was in Russian held territory, in an area that they have been in control of for a while. So that I found out. So it wasn't like the Ukrainians. I mean,
dude, this is a role reversal. You're schooling me on this now.
Right. I'm over here breaking it down, but let's be honest, it's not very deep information. This is pretty much just kind of a good overview. And then
it's all fucking stupid anyways.
Right. The new headlines that I saw as of 2 days ago and today were that now there's three intelligence agencies, US, Norway, and Ukraine. So US and Norway, NATO countries, and then Ukraine. I don't know if they ever let them in or not, but they're fucking Ukraine sock puppet country. So they all have come together to say
they're fucking Ukraine, all right.
They've all come together to say that there was an explosion that brought down the dam, which I guess was like probably the assumption beforehand, but they didn't really come out and know that. They were just saying the dam failed and collapsed.
This is part of like why I didn't even want to fucking talk about it, because I was like, I assume that that's the case. I don't even really know, dude.
Right. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The only news that we're getting is coming from, and they're admitting it, U.S., Norway, and Ukraine intelligence agencies. So,
right.
Well, why
which is basically the case for like all foreign news in general.
Right? Well, generally all news at all is going to be kind of like filtered.
Well, but especially stuff for like foreign policy, international,
and conflict,
like that.
Definitely, especially like hot wars, anything. And so this is going on. And the only information is coming from intelligence agencies from NATO countries and Ukraine. So, like, what? I'm fucking supposed to trust that? So, I mean, it's like when you get into actually researching it, even if you're getting an honest article, their sources for information are just fucking intelligence agencies. So it's like all these people are slugs, and I can't actually get a good read on what's happening either way. And that's just what it feels like all the time. It feels futile to even look into this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of my experience with it. It's like on one hand, I also just kind of don't give a shit. Like, and I don't want to. It's like, look, right, and especially because like I want to say this because I'm definitely very crass about talking about Ukraine, and I want to be clear, right? Like innocent people getting killed, joking about like little kids getting their fucking brains blown out and shit in a conflict isn't cool. Okay. Like that sucks. Okay. To put it incredibly lightly, that sucks to talk about that. Right. That's horrible. That's a horrible
Elizabeth Warren voice coming in.
Do you remember that video of her being like, "Get in this fight,
Dude,
in this fight"? It was fucking demonic presence. No, anyways, man, it's fucked up. Okay, yeah, it's fucked up. Innocent people are getting fucking hurt. Innocent people are getting killed. I don't think I'm saying anything fucking crazy here when I say that that's bad. Okay, but I'm looking into this stuff, and it's like, Jesus Christ, like what the fuck? I don't know. It's like even when people are talking about like, oh, who did it, and like you have like the more open-minded news sources, right? And it's just like half the time it's still like, was it Russia, or maybe was it Ukraine? And it's just like, I don't like. Maybe it fucking was Russia. Maybe it wasn't. Everything about this shit is lies and subversion and all of that shit. And it's clear in even the tiniest little bit that I hear always. And so it's hard for me to just have, I don't know, patience with this shit,
Yeah.
So I'm over it, dude. I don't give a shit. Fuck these people. I mean, not fuck the Ukrainians, but
I mean, all that we have about the war, like as far as we exist, the war is not really real. It's particularly virtual. Like we're not interacting with the real war. We're interacting with the projection of information gathered, from sketchy sources about allegedly this war. And then it kind of gets shifted in that way. So it's like, it's not that I don't care about what's happening. It's not that I am not, deeply and, just very sad and like reaching out
I'm not fucking
to these
I'm
people.
not pro-war,
Of course not.
None of us are pro-war.
I think the main stance is fundamentally an anti-war stance, and then like that's also kind of the ideological background that's like influencing me when I look into all this stuff. I know all of the pushing that the United States did and all the antagonizing over the course of the past like 5 fucking decades in this region and with Ukraine specifically in Russia. And it's just like, when you know all of that, what's gone into it, it's really hard to feel any type of good, solid information you can get about this. And then also it just feels fucked to even really be involved with it. Cause it's like, yeah, we've somehow as a country, not as individuals or anything, but like the United States has really kind of led to this conflict in the long scheme of things with their foreign policy and their just meddling in general. And so it's like, us?
Dude, it wasn't even like 10 years ago at this point that we like overthrew their fucking government, And so it's just how serious am I really supposed to take this without just being like a fucking mark,
Right. And then it feels like we're also now involved. Like if we're now like sitting here and like, oh, well, this war is this going on. Like we have these sources that are telling us and we know this. And it just feels like you're being a part of it in a way that you shouldn't even be. It's like, I got nothing to do with this war. My heart goes out to the people suffering in it, of course. I would ideally like to see no conflict and ideally work towards like, some sort of semblance of world peace is like a grand goal.
Any war that happens, innocent people are going to die, and it's a travesty.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it just seems like it's just something that you don't have to engage in. It's just some virtual experience that people are choosing to engage in if you're an American citizen, and you don't really have to. And by engaging in it, you're kind of like pouring gas on a fire a little bit. I feel like just kind of disengaging from the whole narrative is probably the more healthy thing to do. And also you're not going to be weighed down with all this psychological fucking pollution about you're responsible or this is going on or you need to know X amount of information or if you're not fully up to date on the Ukraine conflict or whatever. It's like
psychological pollution is a pretty good way of putting it, to be honest.
And that's really what it is. That's what all this fucking propaganda is fundamentally, but
yeah, well, it's like information hygiene, like just take care of yourself, like don't, and that's the thing. You start digging into some of this stuff, and it's like, okay, cool, like I'm doing the thing, I guess, so that I can talk about it in some marginal way, and it's like, dude, I feel like I'm literally just doing more harm to myself than good at this point.
Oh yeah, like I mean. You can think of this is a really, really crude analogy that mechanizes human consciousness in a way that I'm not comfortable with. But you can think about the brain almost like a computer, right? Like you got X amount of space that you can operate on as far as like your RAM. And like, do I want to waste my operating space and time and energy just like digging through bullshit and then trying to get some sort of information about something that doesn't really affect my life? Or do I want to spend allocate that knowledge, that space in my brain, that energy towards bettering myself, bettering the people around me, giving more time to my craft, whatever it is.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean,
Or just like sitting down and taking care of yourself and not fucking loading yourself up with this fucking horror shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It sucks. And so, you know, having said that, dude, this is like, dude, straight up, fuck it, dude. Psy fucking slept in. Maybe he's just not even coming on. So I want to talk about. I literally want to talk about the main thing that I had planned to at least start off with, which is wake and bakes,
Smoking weed.
smoking weed.
The
Okay?
devil's lettuce.
The devil's lettuce ain't right.
It is right. I think it's right. I'll put that out there. I'll
I
sign
know.
it.
Well, dude, I mean, I'm smoking plenty of it. I would hope I think it's right in some way.
Right.
Though I'm planning my sober day soon because I'm gonna need to quit smoking here soon for getting ready for having a kid to get those clean swimmers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yo, I was actually gonna. I mean, we don't need to talk about it or bring it up or anything. But you've been talking a lot about health and nutrition and stuff recently. And with getting married, I figured.
Oh, bring it up, dude. Bring it up.
I figured it was probably you thinking about children and having kids, and like you want to get your own health in line and stuff like that before you actually do that. Have a healthy house and healthy body to, take care of children. So I was just wondering if that's what it was about, and like.
That's 100% what it's about.
Fuck yeah. You guys have any type of timeline? Is it like you're
for some reason I thought you were about to say like, do you guys have any type of kids that you want to have?
You guys
like,
well,
like
white
babies,
ones,
hopefully.
Fuck.
No. Fucking A, man. I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's the reason for me. This has been a big thing for me in general. Is like I think that I really struggled my whole life with taking care of myself as far as having a good reason to take care of myself. And as dumb as it sounds, like just the idea that it's just for me isn't a very good motivating factor. That's why like
it isn't for anybody, dude. At the end of the day, people will lie and tell themselves that that's enough and like say that's all you need to build your worldview on. But at the end of the day, it's not. Well,
right. I mean, like having, living your life for yourself it very clearly isn't a very good model. Right. And that's, it's a kind of a controversial thing to say, I guess, in our culture, but it's pretty obvious. Yeah, it's a lot easier for me now that I just like am doing it for somebody.
I think that's a very prescient point, like the needing a reason. I think most people don't have a reason, like in general, not about like for their personal health, but like life has lost its reason for a lot of people. Like people just don't feel like there's a reason for them to be alive. People are like, I didn't ask to be born. We just got thrown into this meat sack and blah, blah, blah. And there's like, I think this like kind of scientific enlightenment revolution fundamentally has kind of disenchanted people with life in general on a large basis and like with nature and everything. And so in that process, I think it's removed some of the reason for life. Like there's no, from this like kind of dark nihilistic worldview, there's no reason for anything. And so there's no reason to take care of yourself. There's no reason to be a part of your community. There's no reason to be the best person you can be. There's no reason to do anything. And so it falls on individuals to find their own reason. And when you're in a self-centered culture like we have because of, material conditions as well as cultural concepts that are preconditioned into us, it's hard to look outside of yourself for that reason. So your reason becomes me, very self-centered, or your reason is material things like extra wealth or some sort of security symbols or whatever. And these are not healthy ways to live. And so people just kind of get themselves in these rabbit holes they fall down in. So like long story short there, me just saying, yeah, I don't think a lot of people have a good way of taking care of themselves. I don't think a lot of people have a good relationship to their own life and a good reason for living.
Yeah, I mean, one big thing too is that it gives you a concept of the future, right? Which is a pretty big thing to have, obviously. Yeah, so I've been trying to take a little bit better care of myself now. I'm I've been doing a lot of meal prep lately. I think I told you. Have I told you anything about this? I've talked about it a little bit on the
I
show.
think you've talked about like you'll have a one meal prep day, kind of a week where you'll do all these big cooks and then put them into Pyrexes for toaster oven heating.
Yeah, man. So, like, basically, the way it's been going is excuse me. I've got Pyrex, and recently I kind of just tried to switch over to like a very like low glycemic diet, right?
Okay.
Because everybody that I know that like, because I want to lose a little bit of weight ahead of the wedding,
Sure.
and I just want to be healthier in general, right? And
can you explain to me, just for a quick dumbass overview, what low glycemic entails?
Just like all right, cool. All right, hold on real fast. Here, I'm sending you Sai's email because he just got back to me.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Boom. It's low glucose. Okay. So,
okay.
Like you want, it's the same shit as usual, right? It's just like you just want to cut down on carbs, right? You want complex carbs, low sugar, shit like that, right? And it's just one of these things where it's just like all the healthiest people that I've encountered, basically have lost weight or maintained their health by eating this way. And so I started doing it, right? And so my meals lately have been teriyaki chicken with quinoa and broccoli. I'm doing a Mediterranean salad with no meat, so that I have something. I want to start fasting from meat on Fridays.
You're doing meat 3 days? Yeah, I do that. It's not tied to Friday for me, but I do. I try to do it 3 days throughout the week.
I'm trying to do it for my faith. It's hard for me to do. I'm really big into meat. Like I was into meat cutting for a while, like for work, and like it's a hard thing to give up.
I mean, meat's good. Yeah, of course.
Meat is very good, right? But doing that, and then what was I saying? I got spaghetti and meatballs with chickpea pasta, actually.
Nice. Yeah, I do that because of the gluten thing.
Yeah. Okay. And I think I talked to you about this.
Yeah.
And then what else? I cut out the tomato sauce because there's just an incredible amount of sugar. And
it's really acidic. I've been trying to cut acid out of my diet. Like high acid diets lead to inflammation a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I talked to you a little bit about this. We got somebody who's kind of fighting some health stuff going on right now in the family, and some pretty serious stuff going on. And I guess a really low acidity diet is really good for that.
Yeah, it's generally good for health. Like an alkaline diet is good.
Yeah, man. And so kind of going for that as well. But yeah, man. Here, hold on. I want to check if these. Address not found here. Sorry.
Oh, did it shoot back an email saying that wasn't?
Let's see here. Try .cop.
.cop?
Yeah.
Sketchy. All right, hold on a second.
Oh no! Don't try that.
Okay.
I sent Randy, not Rare.
Oh, dude, yeah, right. Randy Candy, dude. Hell yeah,
Randy, dude. Celebrating Pride Month with Randy Candy. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, we're all set then. We could actually pause right here if you want.
And then all right, yeah. Let's see.
Hop in.
I guess I could quickly intro him while we're waiting for him to come in, and then pause it too.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
So yeah, guys, we're having on a guest this week. I know it's been a little while since we have. I'm sure most of y'all are probably familiar with him, but it's Crypto Sai, one of the co-hosts of Rare Candy. He also has a little Substack. He does some writing, long form. But yeah, he's a friend of the show, and we're really excited to have him on for the first time as his solo guest. So yeah.
just him this time. Well, I think the plan is to have Glenn on just himself soon too. But
we're gonna split the Red Candy Boys up, see what they have to say, kind of like interrogation style. I almost just said irrigation style.
Oh, we're going to irrigate them. Oh, we're going to get into some irrigation. We're going to be getting into some agriculture.
We better get into some irrigation. Damn.
Oh, we're still just recording. Hey, welcome to the show right out of the gate.
What up, Zach?
My bad. I was in airplane mode and I kept checking my phone and I was like, "Yo, what's going on?"
Oh, it's all good. Also, you sound incredibly quiet.
Yeah, you're a little quiet.
Let me. How's that? Is that better?
That's sounding pretty good, buddy.
Okay, cool. Right on. Yeah, sick. Oh, I see that. Oh, there we go. I could see it visually. Yeah, Zencaster's so sick. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like watching the little squiggles.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. How's it going, boys?
Good, man. How you doing?
Man, it's good.
Good. Yeah, good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Well, here, COH, why don't you lead it a little bit? Because I feel like we're going. Okay, so we've been. This is our what our current model has been, which is I usually talk about current events, and then he kind of just talks about random shit. We've just been bitching so much lately. I've been bitching so much lately about how there's just nothing interesting about the news at all, which I think is kind of a symptom of going into an election year.
Yeah, that's a big one. Especially Glenn and I talk about that. We're just like, we don't want to talk about this shit at all. Yeah, and
no, exactly. Like I can't do it, dude. I can't do it.
It's hard.
So I feel like this is COH's episode to lead a little bit here. This is literally the first time he's hearing this, by the way.
Dude, blind leading the blind here, bro. Let's see how it goes.
There's about to be a fire very soon, some podcast fire or something. Yeah, we're all gonna die.
Dude.
Thanks, COH.
I'm not having a brain fire just trying to even think about how to do this, but not much of a moderator. I'm a little bit more of a color commentator.
No, that's me. That's me on RC. Yeah, it's good having like I couldn't do what Glenn does for me. He's like, yeah, he's the guy. He's like good at this shit. Like actually doing a broadcast voice and everything. I'm kind of like like chiming in and shit. Yeah, but
yeah, I think we play a pretty similar role in that respect for sure.
Yeah, so let's stick together on this one. Then we'll
Dude, by the way, I listened to the recent episode that Slav was on with you guys. I really enjoyed that. And like you said, Glenn is very professional with the way he actually just runs and steers the podcast. It's he's definitely grown in that aspect a lot as y'all been going to. Like y'all have become a lot like just a legitimate fucking podcast, dude. Very, very impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, he's good at what he does. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah. I mean, I know he'd say the same for me about like the things I contribute, just because he's a good dude. But that dude really, he's like meant to do this for sure. Doing the whole, yeah. He's got the voice, he's got the.
He literally writes a joke to intro every episode. It's great.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's quick, man. He's quick with like the puns and the fucking I'm trying to think of some of my favorites. I'll think of them and drop them maybe in the middle of this episode or something.
See, I don't know if you can relate with this. I always feel like I'm absolutely the kind of person where like I'll just always think of the right response to something like later on in the day.
Oh yeah,
and just be fucking pissed about it with myself. I'll think of the absolute best comeback to something, and it's like a week later, and it just doesn't even matter anymore.
100%. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay, so one of them, there's this rap group called Hieroglyphics. Have you ever heard of Hieroglyphics?
Yeah.
In the from the Bay Area, we're an early independent group. They were like the first people to put their music on the internet, back in the day, like that type of shit. And we're Raiders fans, and so one of our Raiders looks like one of their rappers, Opio from Hieroglyphics, and but I never thought of that. And he's like, just randomly one episode, he's just like, this dude sucks. We don't need Opio from Hieroglyphics catching the ball, damn it. And I was just like. After you said it, like that makes perfect sense. But before, I would have never thought of that in a million years. It's just the funniest fucking thing. Yeah,
dude. Honestly, this is a good point. We should have just had Glenn on instead.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing here.
Come on, man. Yeah, it was not my first time thinking
that. Bad one, dude.
Yeah,
fuck.
Not my first time thinking this, dude. Yeah. You guys sure?
It's like a Christmas, and the kids are getting their schizo podcast action figure merch.
Yes.
And the last thing they had at the Fred Meyer was the Crypto Psy action figure.
Yeah.
It's like Jingle All the Way when they give him the fucking sidekick instead of the main guy. Fuck, what is it? I don't remember, but man,
we literally watched that like a year. Oh god, it's
2 years ago, and then I watched it again this year on my own, and I'm gonna make that a tradition just to watch every year because it's fucking funny, dude.
Wait, what? Watch what?
Jingle All the Way, the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I haven't seen that one. Yeah,
Bro.
It's the one where he's like fighting with Sinbad over like the Christmas gifts.
Oh, cool.
I need to watch Fever Dream.
That and what's it? Kindergarten Cop. I need to watch that one. I haven't seen that one.
You've never seen Kindergarten Cop?
No. Yeah, I'm trying to go through the Arnold. I think I'm going through the Arnold catalog one by one.
Arnold's pretty good. I mean, you've seen Total Recall, right?
Yeah, but a while ago. I do want to watch it again.
Okay, yeah. Total Recall's fucking banger. Total Recall's probably the best in my opinion. But,
yeah, he was good. He's good at what he does. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, at the height of his game, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, here. It's actually funny because we were just talking about this right before you came on, and I was like, man, I wanted to talk about this with Sai, but like, we're just gonna go. And so this is perfect. I woke up today. This was kind of like it's been fucking crazy over here. I mean, there's fucking a lot of shit going on, and so today was my first day to kind of just do nothing and just relax a little bit, right? And I immediately got up and smoked weed. I'm not usually one for wake and bakes, and I guess that's what I want. That's the topic I wanted to cover a little bit was wake and bake. I think one of the things for me, just to intro, right? Because everybody can be very different about their weed smoking habits, and I'm not one of these people that can I smoke weed every day, but I can't take even a single tiny little hit of weed and like go do shit. I can't really do that. Now if I get that 2 hour decompression window to get to basically what I feel is like the best part of being stoned, which is like an hour and a half into it, you're kind of just like you've hit equilibrium, and then you can just smoke weed. Like I'm kind of rambling here, but like when those days where you just absolutely eat perfectly, and you can just put away drinks like at a superhuman level, basically, and you're just like, oh man, I can just drink 30 beers in a day. It's like that with weed, where like if I get to just that kind of balanced point, I can just smoke nonstop and be fine. But I digress. Point is, I find as I'm getting older, and that becomes more and more true, that I can't just casually smoke weed and then do something. I find like the wake and bake just doesn't agree with me. But today it was like a revelation. It was so nice, and I'm in the equilibrium right now, right? I'm completely ripped, but like it's perfect, right?
In the pocket,
because I've been grazing on bulls all day, right? And so, yeah, I mean, what are your guys' takes on it? I feel like you guys are probably have a little bit more constitution for it than I do, if I'm going to take a guess.
You're a flower guy, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I pretty much try and stick to the gummies these days.
Really?
Yeah, just because I can't really do the. I wish I don't know. Actually, honestly, I'm telling to myself here. But I got, when I got like COVID early in March 2020, like like we make fun a lot of on our podcast, the people that trip really hard off long COVID and shit like that. It fucked my throat up, and it was like, it settled in there, which was probably good that it didn't settle any lower. And ever since then, I had just had this weird like tickling cough. And honestly, before then, the smoke wasn't doing any favors for my lungs anyway. But ever since then, it was like kind of just like my body just kept rejecting it, especially the vape pens and stuff like that. So I can't
do the vape pens, especially just oil in general. I think that's not good.
And it's crazy. Right. No, it's not. And you hit your ceiling really quick with for your asked question about the wake and bake, like you hit your ceiling so quick with that. and then you keep doing. You feel like a drug addict. You keep doing it, and then you get in that weird like cloud stage where you're just like it's like you feel like a junkie or something. It's kind of, it's not good.
With the fucking
without a
pins, I never feel like I actually get stoned. Like I never get like a good stone like I want to with the pins. It's just like you get into this just weird, like you're saying, the cloud state, and then you just like keep hitting it or like whatever. And I don't know. I don't like the way it makes my throat feel. I don't think concentrates are like. I mean, I'll hit a dab here and there, but I don't really love concentrates as like a daily thing to do. I don't think like bringing the industrial process into it any more than it already is really a good idea for any product.
Yeah.
I'm more of like an analog kind of guy. Like if dabs are digital and flowers analog, I'm like analog. I just kind of want that OG stuff.
Sure.
I'll do edibles here and there, but I worked at an edible place for a while, making gummies, and just like being involved with the process kind of threw me off just because of like, I don't know, gelatin's kind of a gross thing in general.
Yeah.
And so like I just kind of been off on gummies, and plus the place I worked uses a lot of vegetable oil.
Fucking
like,
seed oils, dude.
Yeah, seed oils all over your gummies, and they use them mostly just to kind of keep them like. So
I don't watch that kind of porn. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't do that either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been off the gummies a bit, but I do smoke weed, flower a good bit. For a while, I was smoking a lot of blunts, and that'll
fucking get you right there.
Right, blunts will do well for me.
But the unfair thing there too is like I fucking love blunts. I love smoking blunts so fucking much.
Oh yeah. I do them as like a little treat now. It's like
a treat. It's just for me.
Yeah, just for me. One little blunt is okay.
I've definitely smoked blunts enough in my life to where like I've had like my roommates were like, all right, dude, like the house just constantly smells like blunts, and it's like it kind of sucks actually.
It's a whole other thing if you're doing it inside, bro, for sure.
Yeah. You do they have those new hemp wrappers, the non-tobacco blunts?
Oh, I've used those a good bit. Yeah, that was like my transition, right? So like I was smoking blunts, like probably like when I lived in Colorado, it was during COVID, and I was getting like an ounce of weed every few days and like smoking like 6 to 8 blunts a day, just being ridiculous.
Nice.
And I was like, after a while, I realized my nicotine intake was like so high from just the wraps that I was like somewhat addicted to nicotine just from smoking blunts. And so I was like, I need to get off of this a bit, and so I tapered down and switched off to the hemp wraps, and I've used those, but like again, I just don't know if I feel comfortable smoking these things anymore, like wraps of any kind that are industrially created. It's like, just what are the byproducts that are getting in there? I would rather just smoke a bowl most of the time, but like I do enjoy a blunt, so that's kind of thing. It's like I'll treat myself every now and again, even though I know it's bad for me.
All right, now you guys, Glenn and I differ on this. Like he's the indica versus sativa doesn't matter, and I'm like, for me, it matters a lot. What about you guys?
I want indica.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I don't know, man. Okay, so what do I have right now? I've just been buying ounces. I've been getting hybrids, and I generally get hybrids that favor indica a little bit more. Yeah. But the thing is that it's like I want to be on the like I'm just indica, but and I think that this comes down to people's bodies a little bit, right?
Definitely.
It still just doesn't make that much of a difference for me. And I've actually found sometimes like indica, the whole like in the couch feeling of it, right? It creates, the best way I've thought of to put it is that it creates like dissonance within me, which is like it's sedating me. Right. But like at the same time, that's not where I'm at, like energy wise. Right. I want to like be creative and I want to like focus on stuff and things like that. And that right there, that like internal dissonance actually makes me anxious. Right. And it doesn't even need to be that like, oh, it's making me really thinky. It's literally like, oh no, my body is feeling a way that my mind isn't now. And you know what I mean? And so I don't know. Having said that, I still get hybrids that favor indica a little bit, but anymore, the best answer that I have to that stuff is that I just get really, really low percentage weed now.
Yeah.
I mean, not
So,
really,
yeah.
really low because they don't have that low of percentage anymore, but like the lowest I can usually get.
What
I
used
like
to
a
be
CBD
normal
weed.
Yeah, that's fun too. Yeah.
Yeah, I like
yours,
was really
man?
into CBD for a while, and then I feel like I just kind of, I don't know, I kind of got over it a little bit just because it felt like it wasn't doing anything. But I need to revisit it because I bet like I've been supplementing a lot more lately, you know, and I feel like I'm probably in a space to better appreciate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. What supplements do you take?
Oh man,
Here we go.
let me think here. I'm doing okay. So, all right, I'm going to admit to I'm just doing Kirkland multivitamin for a couple things. I'm doing vitamin D, which of course, right, especially up here.
Yeah.
Fish oil, because of course,
Yeah.
right. I'm doing some zinc. I'm doing some. What else am I doing? I've been doing theanine every day.
Oh yeah.
I've been doing I'm doing magnesium, like calm magnesium twice a day right before bed too, because that calm before bed it like has changed my life.
Yeah, big time.
I do a little skull cap extract to calm myself a little bit. I've been doing, what is it? It's like, is it like kava or something? That's a very new thing.
Oh my god, you're on the kava train.
So I don't know. I just literally found it in the fucking cabinet, and my fiance had it, and I was like, "Fucking sure, why not?" Right?
Oh yeah.
And
You ever done kratom?
no, but I've heard of this.
It's basically like, I feel like kava and kratom go together. Like they're both like in the same kind of range of like mildly psychoactive substances that people use if they're like like trying to stay somewhat sober, B, if they have some problem with other substances, or C, if they just like want to be able to easily access it because they sell it in head shops and at like vitamin places online.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard it was just generally calming. Well, the big thing for me basically right now is like I'm a fucking like work from home computer slug now, which is cool, right? Like I love being a horrible malignancy on society now, but like but I've also found like it's one of the most radical changes to just my lifestyle that I've ever had, and it's made me a lot more just operating level, a lot more anxious because I'm just not moving my body as much.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do that by force of will, just like doing a lot of walks and shit like that. But I'm like, dude, I've kind of just got to supplement for this, and it's been helping. It's been helping
for sure.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
That's a good roster. I like the theanine. We do that for sure. Yeah, the
theanine rocks.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm sorry. St. John's wort. Like obviously, I do St. John's wort, which I'm not on any like prescription medications or anything, and so it's just like it doesn't fuck with anything. You know, that's the funny thing. It's like the mark of the beast, right? It's like if people can't take, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm being too, I say this before hearing your guys' opinions, but I just hear from all these people like, oh, like I can't do that. And it's like all these people are always just on like antidepressants or like insane birth control or something. And it's like, no, I mean, if you're just kind of just like not fucking with yourself, then like St. John's wort's like gas.
And I feel there's a big, especially we're always like, we're anti-based now. We're trying to avoid being based.
What does that mean?
It's just like people just get in these like weird little traps, especially with the health thing.
God, yes.
Right. And it's, so I have a whole thing with like the whole thing that everyone's against like serotonin now. Cause they're like, oh, that, they're okay. What they would say, they would be like, "Oh, St. John's wort. It acts like an SSRI. You're a little bitch. You're basically taking an SSRI, bro." And it's like, no, you're not. First, it's fucking like and it all starts.
That's an insane thing to say. I don't even know how to respond.
Exactly. No, it's crazy, and it's like
people are retarded. There's such this mindset that's like anything. Like they hear about dopamine loops and about like SSRIs, and they're like, "Oh, that must be bad." So like the real thing is like suffering is actually based, and like you shouldn't ever actually like have any type of positive serotonin or hormones in your brain at all. You need to get them out. You need to be stoic. Like
stoic. Yeah. It's pretty wild. So I just think people are so like scared of the things that maybe are pretty benign, and then like totally hog wild with things that maybe they should be a little more careful with. I think, I don't know, it's kind of this weird,
Right.
yeah, like it kind of.
Well, it's just, I feel like it's all just like this like kind of groupthink stuff going on online a little bit of just being like, well, like our side has like and it's and the annoying thing is that everything like I'm about to say is also kind of in the groupthink way, kind of like is kind of a Reddit thing to say a little bit here, but like but like it's just this groupthink thing, and they become these like signifiers, right? And so it's like there's no fucking nuance at all, right? Like we're just anti all of this stuff. It's like no, like antidepressants are literally bad, right? But like you can, I don't know, just connecting that to St. John's Wort is honestly kind of wild to me. But
there's a clear political divide too. Like people, like you're saying, it's a signifier thing. Like people signify supplements and stuff like that with like being right wing or red pilled or based or whatever, and then so like people on the left are like wary of supplements and vitamins, and then like people on the right identify like big pharma and stuff with people on the left because of the way that they've really been like supportive of the mental health stuff like that, as well as like the way they acted during COVID. They fundamentally have become like lapdogs for the big pharma industry. So like there's that weird kind of divide in it where it's like people don't trust vitamins or supplements, and then the other people don't trust the medical industry. It's like the real truth of the matter is that like the vitamin and supplement industry has been kind of snake oilified in general in like American culture because of the big pharma money in play. Like people have gone away from a holistic view of health and a preventative maintenance and health, and big pharma's kind of more so promoted this like allopathic medicine and stuff like that, where there's just kind of like you take our prescriptions over the counter kind of stuff instead of, you know, more preventative holistic medicine. And also just the predatory nature of capitalism now. Like there's so many industries like GNC store. You walk in a GNC store, you don't want to take half the fucking vitamins that are in there because it's full of bullshit and filler and it's fucked. So like there's a little bit of truth to both sides. It's like, yeah, you should be wary of what random supplements you're putting in your body, but you also need to have a preventative healthcare regimen to where you're like actually getting your right vitamins, you're actually being healthy before you have to resort to big pharma medications and stuff like that. So there's always that middle ground kind of play that people are not really being nuanced enough to actually engage with.
100%. Yeah, that was beautiful. I agree with all that. And it's just a weird thing. I feel you can break it down even by like, it's especially on Twitter and stuff. And I don't, like I'm kind of not, I don't really post anymore. I know you guys aren't on there, but you could break it down by like, you could find out people's political orientations by the type of magnesium they take, you know? You know, it's like, oh, glycinate, oh, you're fucking, let's go, dude, let's ride and shit. And it's, you know, and it's just like, it's so weird. It's just
wait, am I taking the based magnesium, or am I taking the cringe medic?
Taking the blue pilled magnesium.
I don't know. I like the one you take, but I think we're getting left in the dust, bro. Is what I'm saying. It's just like fucking, it's just so crazy. It's so, I don't know, man.
It's fucking stupid. Yeah. It's really it's really fucking stupid.
It is, dude.
But I mean, what are you gonna do?
It's stupid, and it's usually it's usually not young kids. It's not like 20-year-olds. It's like 38-year-old men like arguing about this. That's the funny thing too. Is like it's like,
dude, have you seen that guy? Have you seen that guy that like COH was texting me about this? That guy who's like 45, like 40 or 50 something, and he's just like a millionaire who's just dumping money into like making himself as young as possible.
Brian, what's his name? Oh, I went down this guy's rabbit hole.
Brian fucking sicko,
sick freak, dude. Blood bag.
First of all, spells it with a Y, dude. Spells it with a Y.
Oh,
Brian, but no, he was like the founder of Venmo and sold it for $800 million, dude. It's crazy.
Really?
Yes, that's how he's got all this money to do this shit.
Well, and hence the blood boy shit, dude.
Dude, I'm saying, man, it's crazy. Yeah, it's wild, dude. It's fucking,
it ain't right,
dude. He's draining out his fucking son's veins so he can look younger, dude. What is that? That's literally evil.
And it's funny because
he's draining my patience.
He looks, and it's funny because he looks simultaneously, he looks young but also like a vampire. So it's kind of like,
no, he looks fucking disgusting, bro. Like he looks worse than being old. He looks actually worse than being old. He looks uncanny.
He looks like he's in Twilight or something, like one
Yeah.
of the later Twilight movies.
He looks almost see-through, like it's that weird kind of paleness. You're like, dude, what the hell is going on with you?
He's like a fish. He's
But
like
he
an
has-
aquatic creature.
I think he was like ex-Mormon or some ex-crazy religion too, or something
there
like
you go.
that. So there's a whole lot to unpack, going on there. And
Dude.
how does an ex-Mormon found Venmo and sell it for 800 million? That's what I was wondering, dude.
I mean,
what's going on there?
I guess they raise very competent people.
They give a
And
lot
they-
of tech over in Utah.
Yeah, and the church will
Yeah.
hook you up if you have an idea. They'll be like, "Here's $50K, go ahead," kind of
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
right? And they'll be like,
Yeah.
You're like, damn, yeah,
BYU starts kicking you some grants.
yeah. But yeah, that guy is ridiculous, man. Yeah, the blood thing is. Why are people obsessed? It's like your net worth hits a certain level and you become obsessed with blood all of a sudden.
Yeah, dude.
There's a fucking weird. Yeah, it's like the next tier.
I don't really care for it. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't care for this.
I saw some sick fucking article popped up on my. I think nowadays my algorithm just puts up stuff that's gonna make me mad on purpose. Like they're like, we know this guy doesn't like this, like
100%.
he doesn't like this new fucking transhumanist shit that's going on. So let's just show him every economist article ever known about this stuff. And so I saw one. It's like the Google. It used to be the head of Google's artificial intelligence fucking division or whatever, and he's now turned into a futurist, whatever the hell that means. But he is making a prediction that immortality is within reach by 2030. Like all this crazy, just sick in the brain shit.
Yeah.
Nonstop, dude. That's what these people believe. That's the ideology package that these people are running on, is that they are like the sole reason for existence is their individual life, and that they need to try to extend that as long as possible, and so they can fucking farm blood out of their own children. They can treat people around them like shit. They can like make poor people give them their fucking stem cells or the stem cells of their aborted children, whatever the hell it is. Or like Chrissy Teigen talking about save up your kid's brain stem cells, put them in a
Yeah, I
jar.
sent you that, dude.
What the
Jesus.
fuck are these people doing, dude? They're literally sick, looking for the fountain of fucking youth. It's sickening. It makes me want to vomit.
It's horrible. It's funny because they're almost always materialists who
Mm-hmm.
are clearly
Dude, let's
have
go.
have a huge hole in their lives, and
Right.
and they're afraid of death, and they're trying to live. And it's so funny, man. It's so, I don't know. I'm really into like esoteric. I like reading. So one of my old bosses that got me into weird health shit. He was really into like the hippie anti-aging, like the cool like Ayurvedic way of doing it.
Yeah, dude.
And he was
Ayurvedic
saying like,
medicine's based.
yeah, and he was saying these guys would like, there's this thing called Kaya Kalpa, which is where you basically live in you dig and live in a cave in darkness, and but you have to be
I
very
think
old to
Osama
do
bin
it.
Laden did that.
Yeah.
Early adopter.
Yeah, he is immortal in all our hearts. Exactly.
It worked.
But he was saying like this: you have to be like 90 to start doing this, and then if you do it right, you have to be like a legit yogi or whatever. And this could all be bullshit too. I fully realize that. But you go in and you basically do a set of practices in darkness, and you come out and you shed your hair and your teeth, and you grow a new set, and you turn like 40 years younger. And he said this one guy just kept doing it, like, and he lived to be like 200 some odd years old, supposedly.
Oh yeah,
And
dude.
All right, I'm picking up yoga, boys.
yeah. But then he said he's like and then he just stopped doing it because he's like, yeah, I'm done. Like I figured it out. So they were doing this. There's a difference between like the Taoists and the yogis and stuff. They're extending their lives so they can get more practice in this lifetime to reach a certain goal or whatever. But they know it's not the end. They've very clear that it's the drop in the fucking bucket versus these tech guys or Chrissy Teigen or whatever. They're clearly have no, they're grasping at straws. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah.
They've got no spiritual program for fulfillment, and so they're doing all these like material
There it is.
programs for fulfillment, all these emotional programs and stuff that don't actually offer a long-lasting sense of fulfillment and joy, anything like that. And so they're always going to be fucking reaching for the bottom of the well, always going to be coming up empty, always going to be reaching for something more. And it's always going to get sicker and sicker and more demented, because that's what you're leaning into. That's what's going to be coming up to you more and more, because the ideology, the footpath you're on already is already heading into the darkness. So you're going to go deeper and deeper into those fucking woods.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's just like every time talking about it, it just always just takes the veer and just being like, fucking sickos, let me tell you. And then there's just the anger in your voice, and it's just like, we're on the track now.
Fuck, dude, I don't mean to take us there, but
no. I don't even mean to give you a hard time.
Hell yeah.
Well, okay, but so really fast. I mean, maybe I am actually too stoned, but what was everybody's stance on wake and bakes?
Oh, yeah.
You go, Sai. You talk.
I feel like there was a time when I would do it a lot, but I knew it wasn't. I was like, yeah, I could hang with it, but I couldn't. I was just kind of lying.
You totally can't, like 90% of the time.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm going to offer a counter position.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I've just been doing wake and bake since I was about 15 years old, pretty much every day. And so that's just kind of how I operate. It doesn't really affect me just because it's in something I've worked into my routine. Like I've tried to, I don't always do it. It's not like I am fully attached to it or anything, but there's no reason. Like my job, I go out and work with dirt and plants all day long. And so like, if I can smoke like a good bowl, like an hour before I go to work, drink a little bit of coffee on the way, I'm kind of in like a pretty sweet spot when I first get there. And then I can just kind of like, the sun's coming up still, it's getting brighter, dew is still on everything. It's really a nice way to just kind of enjoy that moment. And it kind of soften the entry of going to work. And just kind of like, then you're there. And then it's like, then I don't smoke weed or whatever until like later in the evening that night. But I like to have like a bowl with a coffee. I don't want to get like too terribly stoned or anything before work, but I like to just kind of soften the entry into work.
Dude, the coffee and bowl is clutch.
Oh yeah, dude, it's nice.
It's a fun combo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, today was real nice for me because it was a departure from the norm for me, which is usually I absolutely can't handle it. And just like every once in a while, just that little treat for me. I can understand if you're used to it, like you're describing, right? But yeah, usually it's just like just blowing the doors out immediately, and then I just don't get anything done all day.
Yeah, I definitely know that feeling of like getting too stoned when you have a to-do list of things, and then you just don't end up actually doing enough of them, or you're not prioritizing things like you should, or you're just like, it's like the old Cat Williams joke about weed. It's like weed's got a chemical in it. It's called fuck it. And so at a certain point, you're just gonna be like, do I really need to do that laundry today, or could I just do it tomorrow? And so things like that can kind of happen. If you get too stoned to a point, or you let it step in the way of your productivity.
Dude, weed will straight up like make me afraid to do things sometimes. And they're not even like afraid to do productive things. Like I'm not like afraid to do just absolute bullshit, but anything that like has like the added quality of just being like something I ought to do, I'm just terrified from doing it when I'm like stoned, which is kind of nice sometimes. Like sometimes you need to just be like, all right, like, no, you're not doing it right now. But yeah, no, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. If I've got like an important phone call to make or something, like I need to call like the cable company, or I need to call like somewhere that double charged me or something like that, I got to do some kind of rigmarole. I'm definitely not going to do that if I'm stoned. Like I'm going to be like, nah, fuck all that noise. So there's things like that for sure.
Yeah, shit like that's kind of horrifying.
Yeah, I try to avoid that in general, dude. Having to talk with any fucking company, like having to call someone that's at their job in order to like get anything from them in any official capacity is one of the worst things about living in the modern era. Like
for
calling
sure.
a cable company, calling like your internet provider, calling your phone doctor, fucking any of that, it's just miserable.
Yeah, it's like pulling teeth. There's nothing good about it. Yeah.
Ain't nothing right about that.
Dude, but Sai, I was really excited when we decided to have you on, or when we heard back that you were available, because like Slav's been saying, yeah, we've been talking about the news, and I know that you mentioned you and Glenn have also had the same feeling of just been kind of being bored and being out of it. And so when Slav mentioned you were available, I was like, hell yeah, dude, we can talk about some more esoteric, some more hippie shit.
Absolutely.
Which is something that I'm super into. And then I saw today in my email, I got a fresh email from the Rare Candy Substack that you just recently dropped one of your long form articles on the Bob's Red Pill.
Dude, everybody loves Bob's Red Pill.
Dude, it's okay. So that's another Glenn thing. It's crazy because like he pushed me to start doing these. He came up with the name. He always comes up with the best names. Let's be honest.
It's good,
the name is pretty. The name is pretty good. The name is pretty good.
I know. Like I joke. Like I know we'll have made it when we get the cease and desist letter from some corporation, whether it's a logo.
Bob's Red Mill.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it's funny because I live about 10, 15 minutes away from the Bob's Red Mill. Like they have a whole compound and like with a restaurant and a store and shit. It's actually pretty sick. Wow. You can go in and like buy.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah. So yeah, the Bob's Red Pill. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to Glenn for that one. Again, even like my thing, he pushed me to like, he's like, you got to start doing this because you got too many like crazy shit in your head. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Boy needs an outlet.
Yeah. What do you think? Did you so you guys read that later?
Yeah, I read the most recent one about hippie buildings and eco agriculture. Or green energy. Sorry, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And all of that is something that like when I originally was growing up, I've always been very interested in like environmental stuff, been like an outdoors kid, always been in nature clubs and stuff like that. And then when I went to school, I went to school for like sustainability and natural resources management. So like my whole life, I've been very focused in on like, you know, environmentally conscious, like building, or like just green energy sources, stuff like that in general.
Yeah.
So that's something that really spoke to me. I read all the article. I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, hempcrete, bro. Yeah, passive cooling, dude. Yeah, shading. That's what we're talking about.
So yeah, exactly. No, I feel we're very similar in that regard. And it's well, hempcrete is it's basically like dried hemp stalk, you know, like the hemp shiv, it's called hemp stalk, lime, like the mineral lime, and water. And it's basically like concrete without the rock dust. Or I don't know exactly what concrete is, you know, but concrete's got the lime binder that sets it and the water, and then it turns really hard. So hempcrete, it's like a very lightweight concrete that it's not really load bearing. It's not like strong structurally to where it could hold up a home by itself. But what you can do is you can have like a frame, and you could build a hempcrete wall where you just gently tap in this hempcrete and make like usually it's like a foot long thick wall, or 14 inches or even bigger if you want to. And it basically self-insulates, it's fireproof, and you can finish it with like a lime stucco or like a plaster paint. And it at that point it's fireproof, it's super insulated, super soundproof, it'll last 1,000 fucking years, and it's obviously you can grow hemp in one season, right? You know, it's not like a tree. Like trees are like kind of renewable if it's done right, you know, like like lumber is not the devil or whatever at all, right. But hemp, if you could do it with hemp, it's way better. And,
I mean, the way that we're doing lumbering nowadays and like modern forestry is pretty fucked. So it is kind of the devil, but like as like an operating thing in a perfect world, lumber would be a good sustainable source.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, how I feel. Yeah. But hemp, it's crazy. And my main thesis with that piece is that, like, again, the anti-base thing, where everyone is just so reflexively like, oh, green energy. They have to score like these anti-green energy points online and shit, and it's like. It's like, bro, this shit is actually kind of cool if you take away the dumb like World Economic Forum element to it, and the dumb like, you know, the weird political, you know, because there is a bunch of green energy bullshit. We all know that and stuff, but
of course,
but it's like, is it not cool to have a home that needs, just by its own design, needs half the heating and cooling and water and electricity and all this stuff in general, and B, gets most, if not all of that stuff on site, like that's a resiliency argument.
Right.
That's a
self-efficiency. You can like distance yourself from the systems that you're so fucking upset about in the first place.
Exactly. And even, and what I said in there, like even in a perfect world with the best government that would has your back in every regard, you would still want some kind of decentralization just so you don't have single points of failure.
Yeah.
It'd be the smart thing to do anyway. And of course you can combine them. Like I think if we do have more green energy options, you could have like some kind of like a smart grid where most people do get their stuff on site, but then it's shared in their community, like it pumps back, hey, you got a little extra electricity, it goes this way, it goes that, you know what I mean? I think these things are like in a more utopian kind of society, that stuff would work fabulously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just this stuff is cool, man. It's just like exciting. It's like and especially it's like tech. It's like low tech, but tech, which is cool. I think that's a underrated aspect of this.
It's tech that regular people can like assemble, can manufacture themselves, and can wrap their heads around. It's not like the tech that's in an iPhone where you're like, I don't know what the fuck would make an iPhone an iPhone.
Completely opaque nonsense.
Right. You're like, that if those people who know how to make that die, like, I don't know how to make that, you know what I mean? But like, 100%. I would know how to make a passive cooling system. I would know how to add shading into my home if you can evaluate where your sun's coming from, stuff like that. And like it's just a way of building more resiliency for individuals and small communities.
Yeah.
And so, I think what you just brought up there, the anti-base thing, which is what you mentioned before as well, is kind of like one of the main takeaways I had from the article I wanted to talk with you about. Because you mentioned in there how there's like a kind of a reflexive knee-jerk reaction towards any type of sustainable green energy, anything like that. Like the whole world, the word sustainability has kind of been like tainted with this like, New World Economic Forum bullshit that we're talking about, where, they've created this big narrative that's kind of like this eschatology, the world's ending, and then they liberalize it. It's everyone's individual responsibility.
Eschatology is our new favorite word.
Yeah,
what does that mean? Yeah, I love it.
The eschaton is the Christian end of the world.
Oh, okay.
Right? Or I guess the Old Testament maybe. And so eschatology is the study of the end of the world.
Yeah. And so like they kind of doing that with this narrative of the climate change and everything. And it's this dark thing where they're positing all this individual responsibility and shifting it off the systems that they control and that they profit from that are actually driving a lot of it. And so they create this narrative of like green energy where it's like, well, everyone needs to get an electric fucking car with these lithium batteries that we mine that are actually not sustainable and like worse for the planet and use more electricity and more power per unit than like a gas powered automobile does. Or everyone needs to go and get these solar panels that are not really affordable, not actually that effective, and also come from dangerous mining practices and use more electricity to produce than they're worth. All these things are reasons that, it's kind of the well is tainted a little bit. Or these ideas of degrowth, right? Everyone needs to accept a lower standard of living, and we're going to sell that package to you through neat, modern minimalism and lowering your carbon footprint. And all that stuff is just kind of like, that's sick because it's getting regular working class people to accept a lower standard of living, expect less from the governments and their systems, and fundamentally it's positing all of it on them. So I understand why there's this reflexive kickback where you want to push against, that kind of framework of ideology and that whole narrative. But that doesn't mean that like the kernel of truth that's inspiring that and allowing that to even have legs in the first place isn't there. Like there is a problem with the environment. There is a problem with most of our systems of agriculture, of industry, of production, and we need to address them at that level. But it needs to be at a systemic level and not just individual. And so when people hear all that, they're like, oh, well, climate change is bullshit. I'm going to write the whole thing off. Sustainability is bullshit. Green energy is just this fake pipe dream. And some of that's right, and it's the right kind of dissident idea that you're like, I'm not going to just eat up all of this new package they're trying to put in front of me, the Green New Deal and all that. And so I understand that drive. But fundamentally, it's like shooting yourself in the foot because it ends up people like championing these like fossil fuel and mining industries that fundamentally like it's kind of the whole thing with like switching away from coal mining industry to more renewable energy. It's like the whole thing becomes, well, actually you're destroying jobs for all these people. And
Yeah.
so you want to like say, well, these people need jobs, but the real solution isn't to just keep the same industry. It's to give them vocational training, offer them safer jobs in new industry fields and new energy. But like, that's not the conversation that's being had, because they remove it and abstract it into this other battleground.
Yeah.
And it,
go ahead. No, it's
I was just
beautiful.
saying, it creates a lot of just like backwards thinking towards what are fundamentally good solutions and things that help individuals gain a little bit more autonomy, help communities become a little bit more closely knit and have their own power, and just kind of generally empowering people as a whole. And it kind of creates this thing where people are fighting against the measures that could do that.
Yeah. And I that's beautiful. I 100% agree. And I don't think we can't underestimate how like the AOC liberalism has just destroyed any good faith notion of green energy, Green New Deal, all that bullshit. I totally understand that. And that's why I brought up Thomas Massey, because he's got his head on straight with this stuff, where he's clearly gets it, clearly smart as fuck too, went to MIT. Again, that doesn't have to mean anything, but in his case it does, like where it's just, he's rigging this shit. He rescued a Tesla Powerwall himself. And,
I saw that.
It's like, it's so dope, and it's just, and I just know, just put your mind forward 100 or 200 years. Like the way we design houses right now is horseshit, and it'll seem fucking retarded. Like it's just the way it is. Even if you think you're cool and you're not a lib or whatever, it's like they're not going to be doing houses the way we do them currently. It's horrible, and they're toxic 100%. Too. It's toxic materials that hurt people, formaldehyde and all sorts of bullshit.
Chinese drywall, stucco bullshit too.
Yeah,
man. One thing I've been seeing more recently is all of these new development homes and apartment buildings that have just really, really cheap siding as their like.
I fucking hate these places, dude. Have you seen the sizes of some of these fucking places too? Like they're always humongous. They're obscene.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
and they're not designed in a way that like there's not keeping in mind the stuff you're talking about in the article with like passive cooling and heating. It's almost the opposite. They're using paper thin walls that don't actually work as any kind of like thermal store. It's really bizarre what they're doing, and it's all because it's the cheapest available material.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Yeah, I swear it is a conspiracy between the people that, I don't know. It's probably not this deep. It's probably just all convenience, but I swear it could be where the contractors and the giant conglomerates of building materials are like, all right, we'll do shitty building materials, and then you keep all the natural gas lines pumping. We're gonna stay stuck on that teat forever, And again, it's like, is natural gas the worst thing in the world? Maybe not, but is it smart to all of us be on it all the time for all our housing forever? No, that's not. Especially when I said this article, when they can just blow up a fucking pipeline in a false flag and
it's like little schizo brain thrown in there like that.
Yeah, it's like, come on, dude. It's like it's like, it's. I think it's more important.
The way I understand it, at least around here. I mean, okay. The fact is that it's super multifaceted, right? But but one of the big things that I know, because I have a buddy who I actually talked to on the pod a couple of times about like housing and shit. And one of the big things is just like the stuff with the local government is just such a huge fucking bottleneck.
Yeah.
Right. And you need to go through all of this oversight. Right. Which, like, again, like that stuff is good. I don't want anybody building a house where I'm going to walk in and fall through the fucking floor. Right. Like, we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Or at least I would hope we all agree with that. Right. But like, but it gets into this territory of like, we're having all of these meetings where people are holding it up because like some old lady just wants it to be this color and not that color. And it has all of this, it's the like, camel was designed by a committee of people kind of thing. And it's such a snail's pace. Because
there's a lot of restrictions on the materials that you can use when you want permitting in certain areas as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that causes like a bunch of red tape. And there's a lot of bureaucratic processes that are in place that really slow down the whole process and also kind of incentivize you to use certain techniques or certain materials or go through certain industries in order to
that's exactly right. I mean, like, it's like, I feel like a lot of the people involved in this like don't like the fucking horrible cheap board shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there's just no way to, it's kind of like how like if you own like a condo, it's like a lot harder to, I mean, it's really hard to get condos built a lot of the time, and to get contractors even come out to work on condos after they're built, because how expensive it is with insurance, right? If the plumber fucks up the upstairs unit, he's got 2 people whose homes are fucked. You know what I mean? Shit like that.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it's huge, dude. I mean, we're in a condo, and it's a fucking pain in the ass to get people to come out.
Yeah.
It's been a fucking nightmare. And then you add in the cost of materials, which went up crazy through COVID, and just all of this stuff. Even if you have a house right now, getting contractors to come out is kind of impossible unless you are, unless you're like the biggest house in your fucking county. You're living in a mansion, then like, easily, but it's fucking really hard to get contractors to do anything, right?
And it's crazy how nothing works anymore. It's hard to get anything done anymore after the last couple of years. It's pretty weird.
Absolutely. I wonder why that is. I mean, I wonder what happened the last couple of years, there's also at least a couple of fat 97-year-olds didn't die.
Right.
Couple of
but also they did anyway.
But they also did, and also they have blood clots now. So, but I don't know. I don't even know what that means. So don't worry about that, YouTube.
Yeah.
There's also just a dearth of skilled laborers now too. We're losing them. As far as generationally, there were way more masons and people who actually knew how to do tuck pointing and the kind of things that you need to do for like building with the proper materials that not alternative. Not when I say proper, I don't mean like using hempcrete or whatever, but like as far as the traditional building materials, brick, mortar, stone, etc. You're losing the skilled workers that do all that stuff. I mean, they're around obviously, but because there's less of them, it's a higher premium to get those trade workers. And so instead, a lot of these construction, like new development, housing developments and stuff like that, whether they're houses, condos, whatever, a lot of them, if it's multiple units standing alone, they're all going to be made to very similar designs. And then most of the things are just assembled on site. They bring the walls like already put together, like as far as the framing, the wood framing. And so they kind of were just putting together following directions, almost like IKEA furniture for a lot of these houses. And that's why they're like so shitty, is because they're making them to like be installed and built by unskilled laborers fundamentally, to where this
is the entirety of the workforce. It feels like too.
Definitely. It's getting more and more so like that. It's like, well, which is, I mean, to a degree, there's positives, right? It's like lessening the amount of individual labor that goes in at different levels. But I think for certain industries, it's shooting ourselves in the foot. Because we're
the economy just makes incompetent workers at this point, because you're supposed to do one space, and it's like for the dumbest shit too, right? Like it's like a fucking Pizza Hut level. I mean, this probably isn't how it actually is for Pizza Hut, but like just get my example of it's like you're the guy who does the dough kind of thing, right? You can't know how to do the whole thing. Right. This is a horrible metaphor because that's just literally not how it works. Because I literally worked at a Pizza Hut in high school. But like you get what I'm saying. It's all just, you have your tiny little unitaskers, right? Or you have basically the small business economy that just has like one person doing 15 jobs worth of work.
That's fundamentally a part of the alienation from like our labor. Where it's like you're just kind of losing the ability to actually have a grasp of the product you're creating, and you're no longer actually getting to actually do something productive. You're becoming a cog in the machine. You're just becoming someone that presses a button on a screen, or handles one small half of a task. This weird compartmentalization, it's really like chopping us and our abilities off at the knees.
Yeah,
But
it's sad.
you talk about some cool stuff in that article, though, Sai. And I kind of wanted to just pick your brain about like, do you know any? Have you ever seen anyone that does any of these kind of homes? Like, have you ever been on like someone's house that has like an earth ship, or seen that kind of stuff, like dirt bag homes or cob homes, anything like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I lived in upstate New York town that was like pretty hippie and had a bunch of this stuff. And in fact, they had a couple whole communities that were designed with these principles, especially like the net zero stuff. And that was super cool. And then I lived in Arizona for a little bit, and
Oh yeah,
I never, yeah, and they have cool stuff. And I never made it out to New Mexico, but everyone there was saying like, yeah, New Mexico's got all the Earth ships and stuff.
mm-hmm.
But I
What is
had
an Earth ship?
an Earth ship is like it's like a house built in a berm, like a natural or a artificial kind of dirt berm, and they basically load it up with. It's basically a trash home. It's like a bunch of used tires that they.
That's
that
like
they
what I
pound-
live in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. You live in an Earth ship. Yeah, but you know, like they load up all these like all these tires. They stack them and they load them with dirt and ram it in there, and then they might use like cans and bottles in the walls. It's like, you know, and all this stuff. And then usually an Earth ship has like so it has all this thermal mass from the tires and the earth, and it being semi underground as is, so it stays kind of cool and, you know, and isolated from the temperature changes. And then it has usually like a slanting flat glass window array that that kind of that lets the sunlight in at a winter angle into like a semi greenhouse thing that also functions as like your front patio, or like, so basically you get all this solar gain that heats all these plants, and it gives them all this solar energy and stuff, and it also heats your home for free, that radiates into the deeper rooms of your house, like the back rooms and everything. And you can also grow some of your food in that system, right? And obviously not all of it and everything, but so yeah, it's kind of this weird like dirt earth trash home with these sick flat windows that let in. So they look kind of cool, you know.
Oh yeah,
And they also, what else? They also have this they don't have traditional plumbing. They have this, like, your toilets flush into a leach field, like buried 100 yards out, or 100, not 100 yards, maybe like 100 feet out into your backyard or front yard. So basically, like, you don't need like a septic system because you have all these plants that just eat all your sewage,
dude.
you know, for you.
Yes.
And
Regenerative agriculture, stuff like that.
exactly, yeah. And then they do the whole geothermal, the tubes. Like you can get free AC with tubes running under the earth, you know. And so like in the summer, you just open the tube vent, and it naturally brings all this cool air in from the earth, from the inside the earth. And so that's what I know about earth ships, at least.
Yeah,
But I've been in, yeah, go ahead.
Just the fundamental kind of principle with the earth ships is just creating something that's fundamentally using the things that are ready to our disposal that the earth provide us, for like getting the most out of that. So like, if there's sun that warms your house in the winter, how do you maximize that and like limit the amount of heat loss during the winter? And if it's like, you know, it gets too hot in the summer, how do you look at like where you place your windows in order to make sure that you have the winter angle and not the summer sun coming in the same way? And just kind of like, it's more holistic design to a home that's taking into account all the factors and the environment around it, to kind of make it operate more harmoniously with it, and kind of like passively get all the things that you would get from more active systems.
Yeah, yeah. And it's exactly, it's just a way. And the guy, are you familiar with the guy who founded that whole movement and everything?
I don't think so.
It's this guy, Mike Reynolds, and he's basically he's just like a hobo. Basically, he's just like he's a really cool dude, and he's just like a total blue collar guy, but a genius, you know, in that regard. And that's what I love about it, is he's not like some nerdy like wearing a bow tie engineer dude or whatever. You know, he's just some like total guy that just came up with this himself and
Like practical knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And these things will last forever. But yeah, they're so cool. I honestly, I'd love to be able to build all this stuff. I really want to, and what's cool is these days you can build as traditional a home as you want, right? Without without sacrificing any creature comforts, and in fact oftentimes having more creature comforts. So you could have the traditional look, traditional feel, or you could get weird, right?
Yeah.
And I've been really, about geodesic domes, like I've been really getting into those lately.
I'm not sure. I feel like if I'm gonna Google it real quick.
Yeah, once you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, those things.
Oh dude, those are sick as hell.
I want to build one of those so bad. So I have this idea of doing like something like that, but have the panels be filled in with aircrete or hempcrete. So it's it's just like this weird thing, and then just have this giant dome home where some of the windows are open, so you can let in the sunlight and everything. And and I'd love to have like some land where I have, instead of, because I never like big houses, where instead of having one big house, you just have 4 or 5, like you have like a tiny home, and then you have the geodesic home, and then you have like a normal little thing, all using these principles, all connected, and you can kind of just be like, if your parents come and stay, you can put them in one of them, that kind of thing. That's
I actually know somebody who we like helped them like build like a dome house.
That's the shit.
They got it as like a kit. Yeah, they like got it as a kit, and they just like put it up on somebody's property.
Yeah.
That they know, and like that's like it. Like I think they're like basically living for free, just like on this person's fields.
Hell yeah,
and they like
crazy. Dude.
They built like an outhouse with like a fucking just like a
compacting toilet or something.
Yeah, like a mulch toilet or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and it's cool, dude. And yeah, we straight up just like they just got some beer and had people come out. I obviously did not drink it, but like
was it they had those, it was kind of like cloth panels, and so is it like one of those cloth ones? Because I think I know that company.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And
it was a bunch of, and it's like the kind of shit that you can just do yourself,
right?
Like they just got a bunch of like friends to come out, and like my dog is fucking crying, dude. Come on, man. And they just had a bunch of friends come out, and it's just like a bunch of like, poles that you're basically screwing together.
Yeah.
Like with screws, like it's not like a tent or something, right? But and like the biggest part of the production is really just building a wood platform to put the thing on.
Yeah.
A foundation and then you just of some sort.
Yeah, it looks like a jungle gym, basically.
Yeah. I think I know this company. I think it's in either your neck of the woods or our neck of the woods, Slav, where it's this one. It's called Pacific Domes, I think. If it is the company,
that was literally it. It.
And I watched the founder, this woman. She's so dope. She's like, I watched this interview on her, and she was like, she's just this old hippie woman, right? And she's like, yeah, I built my own first dome home when I was about to give birth because I was living in the forest at the time. She's just like literally like, yeah, she literally had zero home, and she's like, okay, I need something, so she built a dome home, and then she just kept like getting pregnant, and she started like sewing. She just started doing her own sewing and shipping it all over the world, and created her own little business, and then now it's like this like, pretty big. It employs like probably like 30 people, right, and stuff. But she's just like pregnant sewing domes and shipping them all over the world back in the 70s or whatever. And
it's like a future yurt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, these are cool. I've definitely seen the geodomes at like music festivals. People bring them. They'll set them up as their individual campsite. I've seen that before. It's pretty sick. Or like you'll see that music festivals make a big one, and people can like hang hammocks and stuff all in there.
Yeah.
So those are really ill. I really like it though. Like the main thing is what Slav was talking about. Fuck it being environmentally friendly. Fuck it being, green energy, whatever. It doesn't need to be near that. What it is more easily attainable home ownership. It's something that empowers you to be able to own a fucking home, dude, because they're cheaper. They're easy. Like you said, you can just get some homies together and put it together. Like you just need a plot of land and just the general will to do it, and you can come together. That's how most of these homes are.
I will say this to push back just a little bit on that, which is just like the only thing is, and if somebody wants to be totally primitivist about this, then I can understand that, right? But like, it's not going to appreciate value, right? I mean, like you're not gonna get you can't take a line of credit out on a dome house, right? Now at the same time, right, to the point you're making, to agree, like these people just don't need to worry about, rent
Mortgage,
and shit
Right.
like that,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
ideally, that's what would be ideal for me, is like not having a mortgage. I mean, you might have to have a handful of thousands of dollars to put up front, but you're going to need that for a down payment on a house anyways.
Yeah.
100%. Like literally just like stay with family for like a few months if that's something that you can do, and just like get the startup money to just, drop a I think these things are like maybe even just like a couple grand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Like
just a basic kit, definitely.
it's
Yeah.
nothing crazy, man.
Yeah.
And you want to maybe get the proper things depending on your climate in your area to make sure it's weathered well and stuff like that. And then there's creature comforts you can add, but like
For sure.
you can do these things bare bones. Like if you just get a plot of land. I've been looking recently at like doing like an earth bag home.
Oh yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because
What is
like
this?
I live out in an area where there's a lot of just cheap land for sale. And there's also a lot of just free top fill dirt that people have excess from like big industrial building sites or whatever, shit like that, where there's just like, hey, come pick up as much dirt as you want. And so like if you just had a plot of land and you go out, you buy a bunch of sandbags, like empty sandbags, empty vessels. It can be sandbags, it can be like tires, it can be anything like that. And you take them and you literally just fill them up with fucking dirt. And then you build a kind of little frames, and then you just kind of stack it up, and you hold it together with wire, or with some sort of rope or some sort of polyurethane binding, and then you use these frames, and essentially you can build a house that's going to have the same benefits as like these earth ships, where like it has a big thermal mass, and so you can have a little bit better control of temperature regulation. And they're not going to like fall apart in an earthquake or whatever. They're very resilient things, and they're cheap. And like, if you just have time, maybe you already have a place you're living, but you just bought a plot of land, you can just go over there when you have a few hours and throw some fucking dirt bags around. And after a year, you're going to have a fucking home you can live in. And you can put like insulation in it, and you can put housing up or use hempcrete insulation.
Hell yeah.
And really all you need to do is just kind of have a foundation. So you just need to have like a concrete block, or you can even just use dirt and flatten it out and then build up a floor for yourself in there and have like a crawl space.
That's incredible. Yeah.
But it's just
All
like
from dirt.
right. You can just do it with dirt, and then you can like also have dirt that leads up to it, kind of make it like a hobbit hole where you have like grass and plants that are on top of it that will help with temperature control as well. It'll also make it a little bit more firm of a home when you have those deeper roots going through things. And also it's going to help with rain displacement. In my job, what I do a lot of, we do like landscape design at residential and commercial homes. And something that we do and deal with a lot is called a rainscape. Because in big cities, in any type of area that's been built out, there's lots of concrete everywhere, parking lots, there's lots of buildings, there's lots of grass fields that are cut low have really shallow root systems. And so when rain happens, there's a lot of displaced water. There's water that's being run off of the streets into lines, out of houses onto gutters, and all those gutters are feeding into sewer systems, rain water, like storage areas. And all of that can create a problem because it's just displacing water and putting it into areas, causing erosion and stuff like that doesn't need to happen, and overloading the infrastructure we have that's already crumbling. And so what we do a lot is we install rain gardens, which are kind of like, we identify areas where there's lots of water running into that area where it could be running off. And then we would kind of just put in plants that thrive in wet conditions, have deep root systems that will soak up lots of water. And we kind of create these things that will then percolate all that extra water instead of sending it off into the sewer systems where it's clogging it up, overfilling the pipes, stressing them, etc. And so there's things like that you don't even really think of from like a city planning perspective or whatever, or as an everyday person. But like having one of these more ecologically designed homes would help with little things like that as well. And that's just, all that stuff makes a difference. And I'm not trying to like individualize things from a liberal point of view that's like you need to go out and make your home as sustainable as possible, because that's what's going to make our, carbon number go down.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is going to make the area that you live in more fucking stable. Like you're going to have less erosion, you're going to have less pollution, you're going to have more control over the energy that you have access to. And all those things are good.
There's also something to be said about, as a human being, living in in harmony with nature. That's just Taoism, right? That's just like, what do you want to not live in harmony? That'll burn you in the end. It might take a couple decades, but you're going to regret it. So you might as well just, and not go crazy, not, live in a cave or whatever, but just see, like you said, just observe that. Observe, oh yeah, here I'm in a rainy place. Might as well use the right fucking plants for the environment to make it, resilient and stuff. So yeah,
this kind of reminds me of like in the California wildfires, that shit that you would hear about, like these housing developments would put in like these shrubberies and bushes and
that's
shit.
The problem.
It was just like kindling for fires.
The way we manage land is so fucked now. Like, that's a problem. You get a lot of these raging wildfires that are issues now because of the way we disrupted the landscape and how we prevent wildfires that are smaller from occurring, and yet we don't. So like, what you end up with is all this shrubbery. You end up with, like, in areas that I live in, or like in the South or whatever, I don't know what's the deal out there, but there's a lot of honeysuckle, there's a lot of grapevine, there's a lot of these little shrubby things, and much of little juniper, little things, saplings that come up in the forest floor or any type of undisturbed area, and they create what's really thick undergrowth, like understory growth, and that stuff goes up like fucking kindling, and it's close together, and so fire spreads more easily through it. And traditionally throughout Earth, like a lightning strike would happen, it would burn out a lot of that stuff before it gets like too terribly big, or there would be enough like natural grazing that goes on in the forest floor that would clear all that up before it gets big. But the way that we live now has kind of disrupted a lot of that, and we haven't really had a good system for maintaining forests in that way until more recently we've started looking into natural burns, or not natural, but
controlled,
like purposeful controlled burns, right? Yeah. And so like whenever there is a spark that happens, it tears through all the stuff that's been left to grow up, all that gross undergrowth that's been left to just kind of really tie itself in and weave in through the forest floor. And so it kind of spreads like wildfire. I mean, obviously it is wildfire, but it spreads so fast, and because we're not managing things correctly. And so like, even at that level, like, there's just so many things that we just do backwards that we're not actually taking into account the full systems of nature, and we're looking at things in very isolated ways. You're like, oh well, it just doesn't matter if we do shrubs here, that's just what we want in this house or in this development or whatever. But you don't think about where those are going to spread, how the understory of the area around you is being affected. It's stuff like that like I don't think we've ever prioritized as a nation with urban housing, with city development in general, or any type of infrastructure project.
Yeah. Wasn't that one of the things Trump said about the California wildfire? Everyone freaked out. He's like, look, there wasn't he basically like, there might be some ecological issues going on here, but you guys are shit at managing your forests. And everyone's like, whoa. And it's literally true though, right? He wasn't, it's like, so now everyone has to, it's the whole thing where like, if Trump says it, you have to believe the opposite, right?
Right.
Where now you have to argue, no, we're actually managing our forests great. It's like, you're clearly not.
It's actually never been better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I remember that.
Pissing your pants is actually super cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was, it was crazy. Obviously like Glenn and I are from California and he's still there. So I hear about all the fire stuff and it's like, it's crazy what's going on there, man. It's just it's so political, which is weird because it's just like a literal natural disaster.
Right.
And so it's interesting. But yeah, the management of that shit is so horrible.
Dude, there's some big ass fires going on right now in fucking Canada or something that's making New York like look like a post-apocalyptic area.
So where you lean conspiracy wise on that?
I don't know. I haven't even heard anything about it other than I've seen like people I know that live in New York have like sent me photos and be like, look at LaGuardia right now, or like, look out my window, and I'm like, dude, it probably looks like shit there all the time, bro. Like, I don't know what's different that I'm looking at. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have
blocking their view of some homeless guy's butt cheeks.
Yeah, they're like, I can barely make out his ass crack, dude. Usually I can see all the way straight through the hole. These fucking weirdos up there, bro.
End times. Yeah. Funny.
But yeah, lay your conspiracy on me, dude. I'd like to see
Oh
what
no,
that's about.
well, it's just from what I understand, it's a couple months. It's a good month and a half before this should be happening in that region. It's all different parts of the same province going up in flames at the same time, and then there's that video of the aerial video of all the flames, all the because you could see like the smokestack or whatever, they're all sprouting up literally at the exact same time all over the country, and like almost like it was on purpose. And then lately, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I've just been hearing that there's like these Canadian volunteer and retired firefighters that are like, all right, let's go. Let's fucking, like, we're here to help. And they're like, no, it's cool. We're good. You know, like that type of vibe. You know, it's like, I don't know if it's just, I just hear all this shit, but.
Well, that's like the last couple of years, there's been a lot of smoke up in my neck of the woods. And last year was the worst, and it went on for fucking ever. And it was the Bolt Creek fire. Okay. And that's what it was called. And we knew from the beginning that it was like, dude, my dog's about to start fucking barking, man. Hold on. You little son of a bitch. You little son of a bitch.
Being very disruptive right now.
Fucking, dude, COH at the wedding, your job is going to be to wrangle this fucking
I'll
dog,
wrangle him, dude. I won't know anyone else, so I'll like having a little friend there, bro.
You'll know him. Dude, you're on my lap now. You're not supposed to bark.
We're trying to go. You might know someone there.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That'd be cool as well.
Hell yeah. Dude, I'd love to have you. No, but no, what was I going to say? We always knew, it was basically known from the beginning that it was like started from, you know, somebody started it either accidentally or intentionally. And like, there was like a couple articles at one point of being like, yes, this is the work of like environmental activists or something like that. And you heard people kind of just like poo-poo that. And then you just never heard any explanation ever again for it, ever. And I'm just like, okay, like, I don't know. So when you're talking about like conspiracy and all that, it's like, no, I 100% get what you're talking about, because we have that in our neck of the woods. And I don't think there's going to be anything like that this summer. But yeah, no, it's funny shit. I mean, it sucks. Like it fucking, it sucks going outside. Like you literally needed to wear a mask just for the smoke. Right. Yeah. And that's pretty fucking gay. Not a fan of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you get what I'm talking about.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, when you mentioned some possible conspiracy with Canadian forest fires, I'm all ears, dude. It's Canadians. They're probably up to some sort of funny business. They're real fucked in the head up there. It's been just getting worse and worse the past few years. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all if they're just burning it down for some reason.
Dude, it was probably Justin Trudeau himself that did it.
Dude, for real, he threw on a fucking feather cap or something, went out there, started trying to do some ritual, burnt it all down.
Put on the blackface.
Yeah, the blackface. Punjabi looking ass dude.
Yo, it's crazy. It would be funny if they keep doing like people need to take this seriously, so they keep faking like fires and climate shit, like they created them themselves, just like it's all just some like self-created thing, you know, where we're just being forced into this. I mean, I could see it, you know.
Maybe, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, at the end of the day, the climate change thing is a self-creating, self-fulfilling prophecy, because the heads of industry are the ones that are spreading this narrative in order to individualize the damage that they're actually putting forth. And so they're going to be like, oh, the world is going to be unlivable by 2050. And it's like, yeah, because of you motherfuckers, dude. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, also one of the problems I have with climate change is that it's such an abstraction, right?
Yes.
It just becomes the way of talking about every single ecological disaster, which like, you know, doing the stupid like we were talking about, like anti-supplement type thing, but for fucking the environment is like really dumb, and I really don't like that.
Yeah,
you know, but like, kind of get it. You know, I get where people are coming from, because it gets all lumped into just this one fucking concept, and it sucks.
I cannot agree more. That's exactly how I feel about it. It sucks all the air out of any ecological discussion. It all becomes a number, a CO2 number, or something. And the thing is, the thing is these guys' predictions are always wrong, and they never account for it. And that's like, you can only get away with that for so many decades before people start to call your bullshit.
Right.
And it's like you might be covering up for some real, like, I like the shit you can see. Like, okay, like the Gulf of Mexico, you can see algal blooms. That's bad. You could see deforestation in the Amazon. That's bad. Like, that's indefensible. You know, you could see desertification happen. And then with the climate thing, it's always like, well, the ice caps might melt, and that might create a methane release, and it might do. It very well might, but it's like, I just like this, the more tangible shit first, and you're bad at predicting. And computer models aren't science, you know, like, just that's the COVID lesson for sure. It's not science to just make weird predictions with like some computer algorithm, and then they're always they always err on the way too fearful side, you know, and everything. And it's again, and I'm super environmental, and I do believe that we might be on like an apocalyptic kind of trajectory. Yeah. So again, it's just I don't trust these guys as far as I can.
No, 100%. And like again, it's just one of these things of like people will caring about climate change is like a good way of basically just like having depression. Caring about the environment is like a good way to like fucking value and do something about like your local water quality.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or like just like that, you know, I mean, fucking in the greater like Seattle area, there is like a ton of shit, right? We have salmon, we got the Cascade Mountains and runoff there. We got just Puget Sound in general, right? Yeah. There's tons of stuff, right? To be mindful. I mean, there's tons of stuff in every fucking area, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just this whole like this climate change. You know, there's a garbage island somewhere in the middle of the ocean, and isn't that such a black pill? It's like, yeah, like that's bad, but like that's not anywhere fucking near me, dude. Right. Like I can spend the rest of my life advocating for shit near my fucking home that's going to immediatally benefit me, you know. Yeah, I get my drinking water, you know. It's actually funny, you guys inspired me on one of my talks with you guys. I'm off the tap water entirely, and I'm doing spring water from a well underground.
That's amazing.
And it gives me this really good connection with this stuff of just like, dude, like, you know, bad chemicals seeping into the fucking ground is not what I want now, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. These metrics that they use for climate change are purposefully obtuse. Like, they're things that you can't really wrap your brain around, and they're not good fucking metrics either. Like the CO2 thing, they're basing the CO2 numbers and like their predictions based on just like historical models and computer programs, and they're looking at like carbon dating and like, oh well, during this area of the fucking Pleistocene there was this high of a CO2 level, and so that means the Earth had to have been this hot, and that's where it's going to be when that's not even fucking, none of that is valid. None of that's like tangible, proven science. None of that's something that regular everyday people encounter on a day-to-day basis, and it's something that you can just constantly use to abstract, like you're saying, Slav, and move the battlefield for our own planet and our own like environmental stability, to move it from the tangible, material, everyday stuff into this abstract realm. And that's what they do with every fucking topic and every issue at a political or cultural level. They abstract it away until it's just some fucking ideological battle where it's like, no, there's fucking water that's fucked and it's down the street from me. It's not about the CO2 level, or like, no, it's not about fucking like, you know, it's people are working 40 hours a week. It's not about having, you know, their pronouns on our name tag. They just constantly try to abstract these things and take it out of the material realm, so that they can make it something that can never really be benchmarked for success. You can never say, well, are we actually making any tangible improvement on this CO2 number? Well, I can't test that myself. I have to rely on the experts to know that. But I can test by looking at the fucking river stream near me and what kind of microbiological stuff is there, or even just small invertebrate life is in it, how clean the water is. Like, that's one thing that I learned in school, in college, is not a whole lot, but one thing I learned is how to test local streams and waters for their level of toxicity by going in and lifting rocks and identifying what fucking invertebrates you see in there. There's charts you can look up online, and you can just go down, you sample a local stream, and without having any type of chemical anything, any type of technology, you can determine on a scale of like 1 to 5 pretty much how clean your water is in that area based on what kind of life you're seeing there. And that's something, that's a metric you can do yourself without having to go to the experts. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to decentralize any type of information or any type of meaningful way to address the things around us. It needs to go through experts. It needs to go through bureaucracy. It needs to be centralized.
Yeah. This is one thing that like RFK Jr. was talking about recently that I kind of liked, of just being like, we need like a network for doctors to be sharing their information of what was working and what hasn't been working and shit like that. And it's just like, that's a pretty good practical answer right there.
Chinese
COVID stuff.
Chinese medicine has that. I worked in a traditional Chinese medicine clinic, and they were a part of this broad network. It was essentially like, kind of like almost like a big email chain almost you could opt into. And it was just like traditional Chinese medicine practitioners around the world. And people would just share their findings with, things that popped up with their clients, or their patients. I mean, not clients, but,
that's so dope.
And then just kind of go back and forth like that. And like, I wasn't a doctor or anything, but I was on the email train. So I'm just learning a lot of this information myself passively, and it's being worked out in real time, decentralized by the people who are handling it, and it's not being run through fucking NIH or any type of bullshit like that. Yeah, something like that's meaningful.
There's no beagles having their faces eaten.
Yeah, no. No. Yeah, man. I was listening to that fucking Theo Vaughn and RFK podcast from like 2021 recently because I didn't even know it had happened. And that's the first time I've really listened to RFK much. And I mean, I like what he has to say. I think it's based that he's questioning of the medical industry, of big pharma. I like that he is an environmentalist at heart, and that he wasn't just an environmentalist like on the Green New Deal bullshit, but he was actually like suing the EPA and going up against them on a lot of their shortcomings. I think all that stuff is cool. I think that I have some just general questions about him in general, and also I just don't think he's a viable candidate because he sounds so funny.
Yeah.
The voice.
I'm here for him to fuck. I'm here for him to fuck shit up. Basically, right. Is my like just him to press some buttons and pill some normies and stuff is my main takeaway from that. Yeah,
definitely.
Well, because the thing is too is that he's basically the GOAT as far as just like getting data points to cite and shit like that. He's just got all of the facts to throw at people, and so like libs just love to play that fucking game. Mm-hmm. It's just like, all right, like let's just play that fucking game. Like this guy has fucking 30 years doing this, and he'll pick people apart. And like he says cringe shit about liberalism and capitalism and just the dignity of our political process, and it's dumb, right? Some of that stuff's dumb. He's a fucking Kennedy. He's a politician, right? He's a Democrat, right? It's fine, but that's fine, right? Because it's like that stuff is basically assumed if somebody is running for office, in the first place, right? Yeah. Like, so I mean, honestly, it's a lot of the same shit I was saying about Trump in 2019, right? Yeah. Of just like, all right, like the real critique of him is that he's a politician, and so that places him, that logically places him just on the same footing as everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I like him. I've been following him for way before any of the COVID stuff, any of the because of the vaccine stuff that he's been into, and the fact that he, it was like moms of vaccine injured kids pressured him, convinced him, would like dog him after his talks and be like, "Yo, you got to look into this," and he did, and it became a flagship thing of his, where it's kind of like. Where he's willing to listen to people and stuff, and he's definitely like as authentic as you could get from that angle. And yeah, he's just like what we were talking on our show recently. He's literally a Democrat from 30 years ago, which is like seems like this major new like whoa, dude, it's like crazy. And it's crazy that that's like special now that like that like a guy that cares about the environment authentically and like fights corporations. You know, it's like that's so foreign and it's crazy that he can't be like no one can claim him because that's crazy now. That's bad. The bad people think those things, you know? So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He talks about agency capture a lot too, and goes against kind of like bureaucratic red tape, which is pretty nice, and not usually typical for a Democrat either. So that's one thing that's cool. I'm not gonna fucking vote probably like usual because these people are fucking sick. But I do like to see like you said, just kind of come in and throw some shit and kind of like, you know, mix some things up a little bit. Let's see kind of what that does, how that affects people. If we can get an anti-vax presidential candidate at a high level, I think that's a good thing generally. So yeah.
Dude, especially with the last couple of years. But hey, here, listen, I think I'm gonna have to hop off here. Do you guys want to keep going without me? I gotta deal with a family thing here, but I mean,
I might call it too. We got a couple 2 hours in here, so I
feel like that's a pretty solid stopping point right here.
Yeah,
we could always do it again too. We want to have you guys on our shit too.
Hell yeah,
dude, let's do it, man. Honestly, especially I realized when we were talking about RFK, like right at the end here too. I want to get you on again very soon. Just in general, we've been recording 2 a week the last couple of weeks. It would be cool to just get you on again.
Down. For sure. Yeah, likewise. Yeah. Sick.
Man.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Hell yes. Dude, good talking with you, man. Good catching up. Always enjoy the stuff that you put out. I like your Bob's Red Pill. I've been enjoying each of those. And very, very happy for you guys. The way y'all are leveling up, kind of creating a rare candy media empire. Very good stuff, man.
Thank you. Likewise. Yeah. Can't wait to have you guys on. We'll do that soon.
Hell yeah, man. Have a good weekend, Si.
All right. Peace.
Take care, boys.